Hi, AJ. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm even better now being here with you.
I love your name, by the way.
I wonder why.
Yeah, yeah. I don't meet a lot of AJs. Well, this month we are running the Ultimate Reboot program like we run every January, and this may be the last time. And I know you have taken the program before and you had great success of losing over 60 pounds and keeping it off over a year now. And I was wondering if you could tell us how you did it.
I would love to. Yeah, it'd be my pleasure.
Thank you.
So, um, I was at a place where I was really struggling and I was asking myself, um, gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm in a desperate place. I need to change something, but I cannot for the life of me do anything I've ever done before because nothing has ever worked sustainably. And this um, presentation is something I call What Was I Made For? Um, what food was I made for? And then I had this aha moment through the UWL program that told me that there is a human diet and nature has set it up for us. And I just had to go through quite a lengthy process of finding it. So I was a young second child in a family of seven kids. We were a very busy household. Um, I was not fat or thin necessarily, except at various different times through my life. I was a chubby little girl. They called me Moonface. And my early years, we were very active, a religious household focused on God and family first. We didn't have alcohol in our home. We did prayer with fasting and fruits and vegetables in season and some of these things are things that we were supposed to necessarily do, but we didn't always practice them because when you get into a busy lifestyle and you get influenced by the outside world and activities and other people and television and advertisements and all of these things, um, you just start losing some of your focus at times. And we were involved in lots of activities that kept us fit as well, as far as, physically. So soccer and swimming, and even in a family of seven, my mom just had us carting off to all kinds of different places. And even though we were focused on healthful and mindful eating in certain ways, like and some of that was geared toward money saving and other aspects as well. But I would, even though my mom would buy the cereal that had no sugar in it, I would pour like a mound of sugar on top of it and let it just dissolve in there. And my dad would say things like, "You're going to be diabetic by the time you're 16." And in our household, we didn't really see doctors a whole lot. We kind of, medicine was always an afterthought. My dad, if anything was wrong with us, he would say, "Oh, have you drank enough water today? Did you take your vitamin C? Did you get enough rest? Did you gargle? Did you, these kinds of things?" And so um, yeah, we didn't really have a whole lot of medical intervention and things like that. Let's see. My mother was frequently on a diet or doing an exercise program, just trying to maintain a low weight and keep fit. And um, let's see. Yeah, so these are just a few more pictures of me showing that I was, kind of your average kid. And so this picture I had to include because one of the things that there was focus on body image and things like that, especially a little bit later as we got older. I think a lot of my body image I took upon because of what my mom thought of herself, and that she was always so focused on it. It wasn't necessarily she was telling us to be this way, but she was so focused on what she needed to do for herself that she set that example. But one of the things in this far left hand corner, the little black line under my chin that you see, she was the first photo shopper, and she she was also like the first emoji person because she would just draw pictures on things. Anyway, she's been the first of a lot of things in my life. But this particular thing is funny because magazines lying around our house, if there's any, or pictures, other pictures of family members and things. If there's something wrong with the picture, she'll Photoshop it herself with her Sharpie. She just anyway, and we were very active, and so we were out and about, eating on the go a lot, and that meant fast food and TV dinners and prepared foods and potlucks and dinner parties and after then eating. Um, right before I got married, and throughout my life, I remember being at a young age and looking down at myself and thinking I was fat. And so many times I thought I was fat. Sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't. Um, right before I got married, my husband and I, when we would prepare meals together, um, we would buy one of those pork loins from Costco and marinate it or barbecue it. It would be marinated. We'd put it on the grill. We'd take it off. We'd cut it in half. He would eat half. I would eat half, and that would be our meal. I was, I had just come off doing like the Atkins. I'd done so many different things, but at that time I had just done Atkins because I wanted to lose weight and it was the thing that everybody was doing. And so, and then this middle picture is me right before a reunion. And then these are some of the few pictures that I have of me heavy because I was pregnant and I was having my baby. So I didn't mind having pictures of me at that time because I'm like, oh, of course you're going to have gained weight because, you're having a baby. Anyway, I started to become a wife and mother and all of these things. And I decided to go away from a traditional profession and just stay at home and be able to take care of my kids from home. And we had lots of family members live with us through transitions of time. And we were primary caregivers for my dad during a time of spinal cord injury. And all of these things contributed to just the way I was eating and things like that. Well, so right after I went through this whole thing, I became vegan actually for the first time. Right before I had my first son, and got pregnant the first time, one of my sisters had gone to Berkeley and she came home and she was vegan, and she shared with me a friend of hers, Eric Marcus, had written a book. And then John Robbins' book, she introduced me to that, Diet for New America. And The New Ethics of Eating was the name of the book by Eric Marcus. And so I read these two books and oh my gosh, I was just like, I pretty much changed to a vegan diet overnight, but my vegan diet was not necessarily nutrient dense based. It was, substituting the things that I had been eating for some vegan option. And then I went from, being vegan to my kids getting into school and activity levels changing. And I think I might have switched these out of order. Oh, sorry. I'm messing up on this, but that's okay. Okay. So anyway, this is me kind of right before my reboot. This is just right before everything changed for me. And then July 17th, 2023, that is me on the far left. And I took a picture thinking I would never show this to anyone. And now anybody who wants to see it can see it. And and then so I had a friend who went out of town and I got to stay at her home and do my first 2 weeks at her house. And I hardly had any energy. I would get up and I'd make my broccoli and I would shove it down my throat. And in that first 30 days, the first 30 days, well, I should back up a little bit. I got the email from you, Chef AJ, and I said, I can do this one thing, eating left of the red line. It totally resonated with me watching the calorie density thing that you showed. And the presentation was so profound to me, just the visual of seeing the difference between the same exact thing, apples, but in their whole state versus their juice state and their, all of the spectrum. And so I was like, okay, for 30 days, I've never done something like this. I'm going to do this for 30 days and I can do that one thing. So from July 17th to August 17th, I lost 15 pounds. And then I said, this is helping. This is working. I can do this. I'm feeling better. I, um, moved on from there. And this is me from July 17th, the ultimate weight loss reboot at 175 pounds, which I'm sure wasn't my heaviest, but um, the first day of the start of this journey. And then this is me yesterday, 110 pounds. And so all of this time, I had so many different symptoms and ailments and tried to find doctors to work with me and help me on various different conditions and how to work through them and what might be wrong. And, I'm sure going through this list is insane. And most people can probably relate. I had a few life events that were very specific. And, I had headaches throughout my life, and I didn't really, my dad would just always give me a chiropractic adjustment because he was a chiropractor, and I would lie down and take a nap, and usually I would feel better. And so we usually did that kind of thing, just some kind of simple practice to try to just get through. I had a herniated disc, and I had gone to the doctor for that and asked for help because my back was bothering me. And I just kept getting answers like, oh, you should be doing yoga, and saying, I'm trying to do yoga and it's really painful and I can't quite do that. I did end up having a breast reduction surgery, which now I'm wondering if that was really such a good thing because I got rid of a lot of fat cells I might want in that area now. um, I finally did find a doctor who ran some tests and came up with a couple of diagnoses. So the test came back positive for rheumatoid arthritis and Lyme disease and Epstein-Barr virus. And then in January of 2020, I suffered from a hole in my heart. I had a stroke, and I went in and did a Noble stitch procedure to close the hole in my heart. This is me, believe it or not. I had a reaction, allergic reaction, that we can only suspect was from the dye, that the contrast dye, because I never had anything quite that serious happen to me. And that's the thing on the far right. But on the left at the top, that is me after my stroke. So I had gotten really heavy. We had gone on a family vacation. We were up at Bass Lake. All my family was there. I really felt awful, awful. Luckily, nothing happened while I was there. I came home and we were kind of unpacking from our trip. My kids were going back to school. It was the first day of school. I wasn't feeling well all day. I'd gone on a walk in the harbor with some friends and gone out to brunch. And then I went and took a shower and said, I'm going to relax and take a bath. And so I ended up sitting, turning on some candles and lighting some things. And I was showering. I had taken a long bath, listening to some meditative things with a candle lit, all of this. And after my bath, I wanted to rinse off because all that dead skin sloughing off in the water. So I stood up and I'm showering off, and all of a sudden the water above me just starts spinning, and I'm like, what's going on? I haven't had anything to drink. I don't, what is this? This is strange. Finally, I said to myself, I think you better sit down. So I sat down in the shower, and everything is still continuing to spin. And I go, I better call one of my kids and see, because my husband was at work. And so I called my kids and had them come in, and my son just saw the whole right side of my body just droop, and I couldn't really talk anymore. And I was trying to grab my phone, and he called 911, and I went to the hospital, and luckily they got me taken care of fairly quickly. So that was my stroke. And then, as I mentioned, on the far right side, I look like an abused person or strung out or something, but that was just the reaction from the contrast dye. These are just a whole bunch of pictures of me at my, of myself, just at various times, and trying to stay happy and healthy, but not really being able to do that. I tried so many things over the years. And as I mentioned, my mom was focused on health and fitness and things. And so she would get us involved in aerobics and water aerobics. And I tried to continue that practice. I joined gyms and different programs to focus on exercise and staying fit throughout college. And let's see, here's a whole bunch of things that I either stumbled upon or went into actually doing these programs. And I just never could have anything stick. It would work for a period of time as long as I was doing it. And then I, was done. It would come back. So one of the things I thought I'd share, just because I grew up in a Mormon LDS household, and there's a thing that in the Mormon church, in the LDS church, there's a thing called the Word of Wisdom. And when I recently looked it up again, like, over a couple years ago, I realized that if we had been eating really, really strict to what the religion that we were being brought up in said, we probably would have been a whole lot healthier. And I've found this to be true about most religions. There's some foundational belief system that is so much closer to the way that we're all eating now, that's very in line with what our bodies were created to do. There were times, so I always felt kind of like a three-legged table, that I was working on one leg or the other, and I could never quite get them all worked on together at the same time and balanced. And I think I just didn't have enough energy to go around. Like, I would work on one thing, and then I go, okay, maybe my spirituality is struggling too much, and maybe if I focus on that, maybe that'll be the answer. And so, I tried all of these other methods as well, and some of them there was overlapping things, and some of them, everything brought some value, and I learned some things from. But again, I could just not ever quite get anything to be sustainable. There is so much information, and finally, who knew? Barbie had the answer all along. So Dr. Barbara Rolls, that is, Volumetrics. A friend of mine had given me the Volumetrics book, and I actually hadn't read it. It wasn't until I got into your program that I went, oh my gosh, that book, I have that book. Let me go look at that. And I hadn't had it for very long either, but it was just so fascinating. And along with that came you, Chef AJ, to my rescue, helping me to realize that it's all about the food. Caloric densities truly was the missing piece for me in the food puzzle. And again, as I mentioned before, when I got your email and watched your 4-part series, that everybody will have the opportunity to be watching, to see if it resonates with them too. It just made so much sense for me. And I said, 30 days, I can give it 30 days and do this one thing. So I started the program, and as I mentioned, I was at a friend's house for the first 2 weeks, and the only thing I had the energy to do was buy my bags of broccoli and frozen broccoli and throw them in the microwave. And so this is what my eating looked like in the beginning, and keeping it very simple. And I did start exploring and making a few little things here and there, but I really just did not have a lot of the energy to do anything. And I started looking around, and I found, I heard about True North and Dr. Goldhammer, and I also saw Well Your World, Dylan and Reeves, Dylan's experience going to True North, and I decided that I needed extra help. I just was so at a place of desperation and feeling like my health was really, really poor. And even though the caloric density had helped and I was being able to at least be seeing success with my weight loss, I wanted to really bump things into high gear and just pull out all the stops and do this as fast and as I could. And so I gave myself a good fast. And then I did around the holidays start exploring a few other fun ways of making food just because it was the holidays and some of these things I only had a bite of or maybe didn't even have it all because I didn't have any of avocado or anything. I really adhered to the whole the fat you eat is the fat you wear. And I had some situations like on August 13th, this picture here, I would not have known how to handle that situation. My family decided to go on a trip to Universal Studios, and I packed all my food with me and took the backpack and ate, had plenty of food for myself and everybody else, and for the weekend. It was a great trip, but I would not have survived it had I not had the UWL going on at the same time and the support of that and all of the tricks and tools and then this is some pictures of me after having lost the equivalent of 1.5 times of my little nephew here. I was probably already down about, I don't know. Well, I was pretty close to where I'm at now, but not quite. I don't know. So this is one of my milestones. I had not been able to be active for so long, and this was Thanksgiving, not this last Thanksgiving, but the year before, 2023. My family, we all had Thanksgiving at my husband's work, and this is our whole family being able to play pickleball together. And I really honestly did not think I would be able to do it. And I managed to pull it off, and it was so much fun. And since then, that's one of the best things is I've been able to get active again. I was able to help my, like, just getting back into life. Like, this is me with my mom on her 80th birthday, doing a little tea ceremony with her, and wearing these crazy, crazy high boots that I normally would not have worn. But just stuff that I'm getting really just having fun, getting out there, doing fun things, and living life again, having fun with my husband. This was us this last Halloween, just getting all dressed up and having a great time at a bunch of different things and getting to do yoga again. Yeah, this is just. Oh, I had to do what Brianna did last night, right? I had to show you that. Yeah, because I just had to show you how much flexibility and stamina and energy and everything that I have gained from being able to be a part of the UWL program and doing these crazy fun creative things again. UWL was really a gift to myself, and these are some of the other gifts that I gave to myself. I subscribed to the NHA Health Science magazine and the program, and buying some balsamics and my Sweet Indulgence books for myself and for gifts for friends, and Well Your World. Keeping it simple. That's really been the answer for me that's helped the most. Eating left of the red line and sticking to that. Focusing on one thing at a time, getting to know myself, listening to the cues of my body, what my needs are, doing my greens first. And with the balsamic for the nitric oxide effect and the thylakoids, I think that's been a real big key. And batch prepping, especially my starches, having those ready at any given time so that I I don't have an excuse. If I'm hungry, I eat that first. Just grab something that is right there and available and make sure I eat it first. And I started doing the plank because um, one of my sons was in this Olympics for one of the programs that he's involved in. And he had to do the plank. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. And the first time I did it, I'm sure it was so much. I really honestly did not think I would even make it for a minute. And I did 6 minutes, my first plank. And I was like, wow. And I'm sure a lot of it had to do with the fact that I had 60 less pounds on my body. Um, anyway, then I try to remember to be patient and frequently check in with myself and give myself realistic, truthful feedback and have grace with myself. These are the things that feel like they help sustain me. And I saw this quote in a book that I read a couple years ago, or about a year and a half ago. Well, um, changing I to we, illness becomes wellness. And I really love that. I think it's very true. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's part of this community, and especially to you, Chef AJ. And I have so much gratitude and give you a lot of. Um, you're just the thing that helped me get through this. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This was such a wonderful presentation. And I think the most important question, the viewers will agree, is where did you get those boots?
Well, those were from the Buy Nothing group. So yeah, it's so funny. This gal was gifting them away. So I said, hey, you know what? I would love to try those out and see if they fit me. And they fit me perfectly, like they were made for me. Yeah, it's hard to believe that. I mean, I have to be a little careful because I don't want to twist an ankle or anything. But yeah, I was like, I would have never thought that I would be wearing those kind of shoes.
Well, the photos in your presentation were amazing, and I especially loved the one with the 4 photos. I mean, when they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, I mean, you can't argue with those photos.
Yeah, I documented it. I really just tried to document everything. I wanted to make sure that I had a really good recollection, and it was really profound. And it helps to look back at those things and say, nope, you really came that far, and you're really doing this, and it's working.
Yeah, and the one with the 2, if you can get me that photo, maybe we can use that as the thumbnail for this, because I mean that you must feel very proud. I mean, there's quite a difference. And even at 175 today, that's like normal weight for a woman of your height. Like, I mean, they say that I think the average weight of a woman in the United States now is something like 5'4" and 166 pounds, but that's technically obese. Yet, the way you look, your before is a lot of people would like to look like that.
Yeah, the more and the more lately I see even friends on Facebook and groups I'm in, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so sad to me. And I really strongly feel like even though the weight is what we see, it's representative of the health that's behind it. And also just from my own personal journey, it's like I know carrying all that extra weight around, and all of those cells are toxins. Your fat cells, that's what they're storing. They're storing toxins.
When I think about it, like when I go to Costco and buy a 10-pound bag of potatoes, like if it wasn't in the shopping cart, if I would have had to carry it to the front of the store, how heavy it is. And that's why even just losing some weight can make a big difference for people and how they feel, how they move.
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
had no idea you had a stroke. I'm so sorry. Well, that must have been pretty scary.
It was strange. It was just, it felt like it was out of nowhere, but I've learned that 1 in 4 people have a hole in their heart and don't even know that they have it. And most people have to have a stroke in order to even learn that they have it. I mean, migraines are a symptom of it. A lot of the things that I was experiencing were symptoms of it. But unless you, well, and even when they started, when I after my stroke, when I came into the hospital, they started doing all these testing and asking me questions and, analyzing why did you have the stroke. And it's interesting to me that it wouldn't be one of the first things they would look for, because if 1 in 4 people have that problem already, that's a pretty high statistic. And yet they were asking me all these other things and ruling all these things out. And had I had any other problem, they wouldn't have continued to look.
Wow. And so, I mean, could they diagnose it with an ultrasound or an echocardiogram
So
ostensibly?
there are various different ways, and it's weird too because the first few tests that they did that weren't definitive were much more invasive. And the final one that they did after I got out of the hospital was the simplest, easiest for me. They just put it was called transcranial Doppler, and they put like an ultrasound on my head, and then they put the fluid through my veins to see if it created a bubble effect in my. Oh yeah, it's called transcranial Doppler with bubble, something like that. So it has to create the bubbles in your head so that it shows that it's not going through the normal channels. So it went through my heart to my head instead of going
Wow.
into
And
my brain.
so you're okay now, like that hole's all better?
Yeah, I do need to find a good cardiologist because I do need to do a follow up. But unfortunately, it didn't necessarily end well with my cardiologist.
Well, we have a bunch of plant-based ones that we can refer you to, so I'll be happy to talk to you about that. That's something. You know, when I was looking at your photos when you were younger, I mean, there were photos obviously when you were older where you were overweight by your own admission, but the younger ones you didn't appear to be overweight.
Yeah, I just felt fat when I was young. I don't know. I think it was just because of the influence and the like outside influences, and then like as I was mentioning, my mom would have a lot of. She had been a beauty queen and earned crowns and stuff when she was younger, and even though it wasn't a huge emphasis, it she liked that stuff, and she would, she had magazines, and she would get us out of bed and say, "Oh, the Miss America pageant's on. Come watch it with me." So, it was very prevalent, and she liked the aesthetic of, the even the 32, 22, 32, like, and she would talk about celebrities and stars and stuff, and how certain people had. I think it was Vivian Lee had a like 22-inch waist or 18-inch waist or something crazy. I don't remember, but yeah, but so like these things were talked about, and I think just being involved in cheerleading and theater and dance, and I don't know, like.
Yeah. No, it makes sense to me. And I wonder what that influence has because you said your mother was frequently on a diet, and my mother was too, but my mother never seemed to lose any weight, even though she had done quite a few.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my mom also had 7 kids and 13 pregnancies, and so I mean, I'm amazed that she managed to
Wow.
stay how she did. But
It's amazing. Well, I loved your hair in the first picture. I'm always trying to get mine to stick up like that. So, yeah, but I just wonder, and this might be more of a question for Dr. Lyle, if the influence of seeing our parents or our mother always on a diet might have some effect on us just because then we're thinking, well, maybe we shouldn't be eating I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, on that slide you had where you showed the different diets, I didn't have a chance to write them all down, but it looked like there were like 40 on there.
There's a lot of things. I mean, there's probably even things, and I didn't do all of them to the full extent. Like some things, they just came across my path, and some of them I gave a tiny little bit to, and then some of them I did, like the master cleanse I did a few times. Where so fasting for me wasn't that big a deal. Also, in the religious upbringing I had, once a month we would do a fast for church and for our spirituality, and also the money that we would save from the food we didn't eat would go as a donation as well. So there were some of these things that were just part of our belief systems and things like that. So they weren't especially um, unique or different or out of any, you know, they were just kind of understandable and normal to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember that I took some notes in the photo in you in the black dress. I don't know if you considered yourself overweight there, but you were gorgeous in that photo. There was one right in the middle. little
Mhm.
black cocktail dress. So
I I felt good there, but also I was just pregnant there and I didn't know it yet. Um, but yeah, I felt really good there. There were quite a few times throughout my life where I felt really good, but it was not sustainable. Like I said, I couldn't stay there. It was always a, a struggle. And
were other, you said if your mom had, you, it sounds like you have seven siblings and it sounds like your mom was very health and maybe weight conscious. Was anyone else in your family overweight?
so all this, well, actually, my older sister and I struggled with weight a lot throughout our years, and still, even to this day, my older sister does. Um, she and then my two younger sisters. So there's two girls, and then there's three boys, and then there's two girls. And the three boys have, you know, kind of a little bit at times. My only one of my brothers, I feel like, had a struggle really with weight, and the other two didn't. So it's mostly the girls in the family, and that my two younger sisters, one of them struggled with weight a little bit during her younger years. And actually, they both did in a sense, but one of them exhibited it more externally, and the younger one, she seems like she kind of figured it out for herself what worked for her, and so she and my sister that went vegan, she has been had less difficulty with it. And then the very, very youngest one, she does more of an intuitive eating, and she really has a lot of emphasis on working out and physical fitness. And that's where she primarily, I think, maintains her weight.
Oh, well, speaking of physical fitness, how much exercise did you have to do to lose these 65 pounds? And I would say you lost them fairly quickly compared to many people.
I did. I didn't have any energy in the beginning to do anything. And it wasn't until, so I started this in July, and then it wasn't until Thanksgiving that I had any energy to do anything. So that time at Thanksgiving playing pickleball with my family was really the first time that I started working out. And I started trying to at least have a little bit of movement, just because, as JP and you encourage, it's nice to get out there and move. And um, but I notice now, like, I'll be in a room with people and they'll be like, "Oh, do you want to sit down?" And I don't even realize that I've been standing the whole time. And it used to be I'd walk in a room and I would just sit down right away. I'd be like, "Oh, where can I get comfortable? Where can I?" And nowadays I just walk in and I'm standing up. And sometimes my husband will say, "You're like the Energizer Bunny. I have to go to bed. You're still go go go." And I still have my times where I get, less energy. Plus, I do have my ups and downs with my routine of exercise. I I was doing like a few different, like, yoga with Adrian is one of them that got me through last year. When January started last year, somebody had mentioned that to me and I started doing that, and it was great. And I was doing it every morning, and I was doing this Mad Fit thing that my nieces told me about, that is this cute little gal who does on YouTube. Just little routines that you follow along, and those were the things that were keeping me active and sustaining me at that time. And I figured if I just get that in, that's good, and anything beyond that is cherry on top. And so I haven't put a lot of emphasis on that so far, but I do feel like that's something I want to try to focus more on this year. And I did this last year. I Gosh, I forget exactly when it was, but in this last 6 months, sometime, I think it was around October. There was a gal who was offering a musical theater dance audition class. So it kind of would teach you what to expect if you were going into an audition. And when I was younger, I was involved in theater and stuff like that, and I loved it. And I go, I'm going to take this class. And it was very ambitious for me to do that. And I couldn't believe that I was doing it. And it was so much fun. It was not easy. It was hard, especially on my brain. Like, there's things that I'm still struggling with health wise, but I think one of the biggest gifts that I feel like I've gotten from UWL, that because at times I would feel like, oh, I don't want it to be about the weight, and it's not about the weight, and I want to get my health back, and I want to, um, so many of my health things have helped because of this, like because of the weight loss, there has been help in that department. But it's so nice that I can redirect and put my energy elsewhere now because I have this one thing that I feel like I've checked off my list. I just, it's so nice to feel like you have the answer to something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I love how you said who knew Barbie had the answer all along, and I'm going to email Dr. Rolls. That is hilarious because, I had the books by Dr. Jean Ornish, which was Eat More, Weigh Less and McDougall Program for Maximum Weight Loss, which also basically were rooted in the principles of calorie density. But just having the book and actually applying the principles are two different things.
Yeah, right.
So the point I was trying to make with the exercise is you didn't even need to
Oh,
exercise to lose weight. And that's
right.
what I want people to know that, that exercise is important for so many reasons, for mental health, for improving your immune system, brain health, bone health, but not really even required to lose weight. I lost it. Well, now it's, I don't know how, but when I lost the 54 pounds that I'm known for losing in the last 13 years, 47 of them were done with no exercise because I was in a wheelchair basically when I had broken my knee.
Yes, you're right. Because the weight loss was not, obviously, was not, uh, exercise did not contribute to my weight loss.
No.
I had no energy. I couldn't do anything. I mean, when I was staying at my friend's for that 2 weeks, one of the things was I kind of thought, oh, I'm going to be away. I'm going to be have this isolated thing. Well, I was watching her pets for her too, so it was a struggle for me to even get up and walk the pets and take them out for what they needed. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 4 in the morning. I'm not getting up yet, and I'm just not in that routine. And so I really did not do anything. I had so little energy.
Were you raised eating the standard American diet, basically?
Yeah, I think ours was maybe a little bit healthier than the average, possibly, but maybe not. I mean, it was all food was always used as reward, as coping, as love, as all of these things, and so, and also entertainment and socialization. So socializing, like after a football game, oh, let's go and have the pizza and root beer, and let's oh, we're going out for a date night. We're going to leave you at home with the babysitter and you get the TV dinners. Oh, great. The processed foods and the packaged foods and things like that. Yeah, I think for the most part, it was probably pretty close to the standard American diet. Yeah.
Well, it cracked me up when you said you put sugar on the sugarless cereals because what was going through my head is I used to put sugar on the sugar cereals.
Yeah. I would put a
Did you,
mound and watch it dissolve. And I'd be like, oh, it's dissolving. I need to pour more. Oh, it's.
would you consider yourself either a sugar addict or a food addict? Did you struggle with particular foods?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I always, it wasn't until there was a guy that I was dating in high school who one time I was going to give him something sweet to eat. And he was like, oh, no, I'm more of a savory eater or whatever. And I was like, oh, it never even occurred to me that people wouldn't be sweet, and that you wouldn't have a sweet tooth and that you wouldn't want everything to be sugary and chocolatey and all of those things. Um, yeah, I
I
definitely.
love I love the photos of your food because even the simple food to me looked delicious. That's kind of how I still eat and prefer to eat.
Well, I think anything when you're combining these natural things, it's beautiful. They're amazing. I mean, they look amazing. Like I have a different bowls and stuff on this shelf over here in my house that's like, lemons and oranges and persimmons and squashes and I love seeing that. Like it looks like art to me. It's just beautiful and it's not even chopped up yet. It doesn't even, have any preparation.
What can you tell us what you eat in a day typically, and has it changed since you've lost the 65 pounds?
I don't vary a whole lot. I at least for like what the basis of it is. So I still do my broccoli. I do a whole pound of broccoli first thing in the morning. I love it. I live for it. It tastes amazing to me. Um, and I put the balsamic on there, whatever flavor, any of them are so fabulous. And sometimes I'll do just plain balsamic that's like a cheaper version with some seasonings. But I really like everything. I probably wouldn't even put balsamic on my broccoli because I do love the way it tastes just by itself. But I want that extra bonus of the nitric oxide effect. So that's why I put it on there. But so I do my pound of broccoli, and then often I will do oat groats with berries, frozen organic berries, and or whatever fruit I have on hand with cinnamon and sometimes different spices, but almost always cinnamon and banana. And sometimes I'll add a little bit of flaxseed. There's things that I've started to vary a little bit more. Like lately, just in this last week, I've been having a lot more greens again, just like the power greens from Costco in a big bag. And I just pull out handfuls and I just throw them in a bowl and drizzle them with balsamic. And I just eat it like that. And it's just amazing. I love it. I really, as I mentioned in one of my pictures, you saw that one of the gifts that I gave myself was Vesaluna um, knife with the bowl from Holland Mill. And I love chopping that and getting all my greens really small. But if I'm not feeling in the mood to even chop, I just throw it on there and eat my greens. And I know I have at least the pound of broccoli every day. And then sometimes I will just make a bag of edamame and just heat it up in the microwave too and eat that whole thing. It's like usually like a half a pound, eight ounces of edamame. And I usually batch prep potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, beans. I've been a little bit more lax about some of my food prep lately. And I think partly it's because one of my sons is gone now and my other son has gone so much that he doesn't eat at home a lot. And I was making a lot of things and then they started going bad. I'm like, oh no, I can't have food go bad. That's not acceptable. And I wasn't freezing them fast enough to keep them. And then I put them in the freezer and then I forget they're in the freezer. I don't know. I don't have all my food systems in place, but I do have these few habits that have really sustained me. And that is the batch prepping and the support. Like my family has been very supportive. And even though they're not 100% eating the same way I am, and I don't have a completely 100% clean environment either, for the most part, um, they they eat mostly like I do, and they respect it a lot and they understand it. And I do feel like I can ask for what I need. Um, and if I ever see that things are becoming a problem, I will be sure to do that. But I appreciate like even the timing of this is really good because I feel like another time where it's just meant to be, where I kind of was maybe starting to, because of the transition with my son moving out and the other, I just like this opportunity for the UWL coming back in again to help me focus again. I'm really
Nice. So were you able to influence any friends or family with this healthier way of eating? And what did they say about your success?
um my husband and my kids definitely they've been influenced by it. My one of my sons, he'll call me now and say, "Hey, mom, what's that recipe? Will you send me that recipe?" And so he makes a lot of things at home. Well, when he's here, but he's now not living with us right now. But um, and my husband, we do a lot of meal prep together. He has learned a lot of the same habits that I have. He's followed alongside me, and so we kind of do most of it together. My extended family is supportive and encouraging in certain ways, and but they've been more difficult or not as receptive, I should say. Um, I don't know. It's a little bit hard to articulate without going into long stories.
But sometimes, I mean, like sometimes I've found and I've heard from other women that when they have lost weight, their friends who haven't lost weight aren't always as nice to them.
Yeah, I most of the groups that I'm a part of, at least around me, they all seem very fine and very accepting and very encouraging. And a few people have specifically asked me, "What do you do? What's going on?" And they've, I think too, it's a little bit harder when I, especially in the beginning, when I told them what I was doing and what my story was right away, because they're like, "Oh my gosh, I could never do that." Because for me, I kind of went like all the way, like, I'm doing my pound of broccoli, I'm doing my greens, I'm not having any fats, I'm cutting out everything. And so I think when I explain it, sometimes it might come across. And then I did the water fast, for 30 days. And they're like, what? Well, 21 days and then the 11-day refeeding. And so, like, they're like, what? I could not do that. And they were all worried about me. And anyway, everybody's supportive. They often will say, oh, well, can I make you something? Can I do something special? And I just try to let them know I'll bring my own food. Don't worry about me. Um, yeah, they're,
When you tell them what you did, do they say, "Oh, I could never do that. I could never eat vegetables at breakfast," or
yes, exactly. And so many of them, oh, I can never give up my meat. I could never give up my cheese. I could never give up my um, wine, my alcohol, whatever it is. But it's interesting because a few people do ask me things more regularly. It's kind of like, it feels like a little seed has been planted and they just need time. And I totally get that. I think I get the most frustrated with um like the people in my life that are the sickest or the oldest or have the most challenging situation. I want them to change so badly just because I want them to be healthy and live longer. And I feel like they have, like, they need it more, and they um yeah, that's the main thing.
what's been the best part about losing 65 pounds?
I'm feeling like myself again. I i'm not 100% all the way there, but I feel like I had lost myself. I had grieved grieved the loss of myself. It was really hard not recognizing who I was. And it's nice to feel like, and my mom even says that. She's like, oh my gosh, I feel like we've got our old AJ back.
Oh,
Um, I
that's
was,
it's
I was,
weird. It's not just about the weight. I mean, like it is like you say in some ways, but it's just really about feeling your best.
yeah, because it's not just the weight on your body, it's the weight on your soul,
Yeah.
you know?
I know. I was obese till I was 52, and it's just I
And
just feel much lighter in so many ways. What would you say to somebody that's on the fence about taking the reboot program? And I'm curious because you talked about the principles that we teach in the Ultimate Weight Loss program, but the reboot's a very focused 30-day experience with Dr. Goldhammer, Dr. Lyle doing monster Q&As. How did that program specifically help you? And what would you say to somebody that's on the fence and whether they should join?
um, well, I mean, I absolutely would tell them that they should. What do you have to lose? It's a wonderful time of experiment. If you've never, I mean, I had done so many things, but never this. Why not? If it's come into your path, it's there for a reason. Might as well give it the period of time that the 30 days. Just what have you got to lose? It's like,
Well, in your case, what do you got to lose? Just 65 pounds, for example.
yeah.
So many people, AJ, yo-yo dieted their whole life, like you did with 40 different diets. I'm curious, what was the weirdest one you ever did?
Um. Well, I think at the time, well, well, probably at the time it was the lemonade diet, the master cleanse diet. I think, uh, but maybe it was just me at that time. But there were some weird things that I did that weren't necessarily a diet, like the MMS. I forget what it stands for, but it's like a solution that you take, and it's supposed to cleanse your cells or something like that. And I mean, hey, even if things work in a placebo manner, I, I'm game.
Well, absolutely. What about people that have given up hope that they could lose weight? What would you say to them?
um, I don't give up hope, and if you do, just you're I would just say you're here for a reason. You're still here. Well, also I think it's about too asking them, what is your weight doing for you? Or what is it keeping you from? Because for me, I struggled with my weight throughout my whole life, but really when it started affecting my health and who I was, that is when it was like, oh no, I have to do something about this. And I didn't know specifically that taking off the weight would help in those ways. I was really looking for answers for my health, but the weight felt so heavy and it was so difficult. And that was the only thing that seemed to keep coming up, that there was potentially an answer for, that I could maybe handle more on my own without a doctor. Because that's another thing, is health related things, you feel like you need a doctor to help you through it. And weight loss things, they don't even help you with that. There's, I mean, not that they don't at all, but I never had a doctor want to help me with weight ever. So, and yet we're just one entity, it's all one thing. And you work on one, it helps the other. Um, and also one thing I learned through this program that was such an aha thing was just talking about animals, looking at nature. We're an animal, we're a part of the animal kingdom. And every animal has a specific diet, and when they're left in their own natural habitat, they're able to thrive, and they do get ill at times, but it's because of the natural environment, and then their body kicks in and they either thrive and survive or die. And we are no different. Because we have this crazy mind, we think we're different, and that mixes us all up. And then
Yeah. Well, it's like Dr. Lyle always says, the reason people are overweight are they're not eating the diet that's consistent with our species' natural history. And that's one of the reasons that we like to tell people, if at all possible, omit the oil and either completely omit or limit the sugar and salt, because those things aren't found in nature, at least not in concentrated forms. And how hard was that for you to omit those items?
it wasn't, I think, because I really looked at you as, okay, here she is. She's done this. As you say so many times, like Tony Robbins said, find somebody who's done what you want to do and follow the path they took. Like, maybe it'll work for me, maybe it won't, but it worked for her. So let me look at doing this for myself. I'm going to follow this path, and I'm going to follow her mentorship, and we'll see where I end up. And I didn't want to do anything different. I said, okay, this is what Chef AJ did. This is what the successful people in her program have done. So I'm just going to start there. And I just decided I'm going to go all the way. And like another thing that you say, abstinence is often easier than moderation. And I, it absolutely has been for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. They say that it's not nice to ask a woman their age, but you look a lot younger than you are. So if you can tell your age, I want people to know that it really is never too late because, like me, you didn't do this until your early 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm 52. Yeah, it's been a year and a half. I'll be 53 this month, and it's been, yeah, since July of 2023. So yeah.
Congratulations on your success. And I wrote down that quote said about if you change the I in illness to we, you get wellness. I think it might have been Malcolm X, but the thing that's I think nice about Reboot is, I mean, people can just read my book, The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss, and many people have, and they do the program, which is basically following the principles of calorie density, but with the true north spin of no sugar, no oil, and salt. And they have a lot of success. But the fact that you're in a supportive group off of Facebook, I think is something that a lot of people actually like, so that they can ask questions and things like that and talk to other people that are in the same situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only this group, and I think it's really a strong foundation to get. And I signed up for everything that came across my board all along, and then somehow I got fallen off the list. I don't know if like an update on my phone did something weird, and then stuff was going to my spam folder instead. I don't know, but it seemed like I was getting less and less communication, and I'm just glad that I didn't miss this one.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. No, we kicked you off because we didn't want another AJ. No, I don't know how that happens, but that has happened, and I'm glad that we were able to found you and that you could do this. And what's nice is, like you said, you are at goal weight. You've been at goal weight, but you're still taking the program just for the community and the extra support. And I hear from a lot of successful people that that's one of the secrets is to stay in the conversation and to stay in community with like-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've introduced me to so many things, and your community has introduced me to so many things that, it's not just about this. It's about all the ways that it branches out and the overlap that happens. It is really this much bigger community, and it's amazing, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah. So if you guys want to hang out with me, the real AJ, and no, with both of us AJs, there'll be a link below to register for the final reboot program. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure hearing your story and getting to know you a little bit better. And congratulations on your amazing success.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
One more thing. What's your biggest piece of advice to people, especially people that are struggling,
Don't give up.
right?
Don't give up.
I should have asked you this, but I'm going to ask now. Do you ever worry you could gain the weight back? Are you ever kind of a little wobbly about that? Because it's only been about a
I have these little bit of questions about it. Like, I mean, looking at you gives me hope and makes me feel extremely confident. But, I'm the kind of person who goes, I'm not going to say it could never happen. I've done things that I thought I would never do. So I think there's being too extremist, the always and nevers. I'm trying to get back to a little more closer to the center on those things. And this is one of those things that I don't want to believe those extremes, but I do at times worry that could happen. It crosses my mind, like I'll feel a little bit like I haven't been doing what I need to do, or I think, what if I add this back in or whatever? And no, okay. You just have to catch yourself and just notice and just be aware and not, you know,
and keep eating those vegetables for breakfast because it sounds to me like you have really good habits in place now.
yeah. And I do have at least my core group here at home that is really supportive. So yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
great.
you, thank you.
Oh, you got me too now. So thanks so much. And because this is your first time on the show, you get 2 free bottles of California balsamic vinegar so you can get all your nitric oxide every day in a delicious way.
Thank you. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks so much, Amy. And thanks all of you for watching. And if you'd like to take Reboot, there's a link below, and we hope to see you in the class. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.